If anyone wants to be my disciple, Jesus says, they should be prepared to hate everyone, including themselves, sacrifice everything they have, and be executed. Well, this just took a dark turn. Imagine getting that recruitment poster in the mail. Join Team Jesus. Hate everyone, lose everything, die. It's no coincidence that this most difficult teaching of Jesus is delivered at the peak of his popularity. Huge crowds are following Jesus everywhere he goes now. That might seem like mad success, but Jesus worries that his numbers are falsely inflated by people who have no real idea what they're signing up for. This will turn out to be a long-standing problem for the Jesus movement. Every group or movement has a pitch composed of some combination of promise and price. What you'll get by joining, and what joining up is going to cost you. The fitness club promises self-respect, hotter dates, and longer life for the price of a monthly subscription plus consuming an ungodly amount of liquid kale. And Christianity promises, at the very least, a good life beyond death. But most Christians would argue there's more. Some say that doing things God's way will bring you material blessing, also known as money. Some promise divine protection from violence or disease. Some say that following Jesus will make you a better parent or person. Some promise that choosing Jesus will bring you self-worth and an end to loneliness. As for the price, most would agree it includes acknowledging your sins and need for forgiveness and help. Almost all would agree that some level of faith or trust is required. Beyond this, though, things get murkier. Some would say that church is necessary. Others say church is optional. Some suggest good deeds are also needed, though they can't pin down a number. But how does any of this stack up with what Jesus says about his own movement? Well, Jesus does make many remarkable promises. Promises about protection and provision and found family, about healing and freedom and purpose and joy and, yes, life beyond death. The problem with most pitches you hear others make on Jesus' behalf isn't that they're lying about the scope of the promises. It's how much gets left in the fine print. It's like a commercial for a pill that promises to give you perfect skin, that fails to mention that a common side effect is both your ears falling off. And Jesus is passionately against pitches for his movement that aren't extremely frank about what joining up will cost. All those promises are given to those who follow Jesus. Following is the core of what this movement is about. Going where Jesus goes, doing what he does, loving what he loves. Okay, so where exactly is Jesus going? Where is this crowd following him to? Well, Jesus has been trying to explain this for a while, but the answer is so shocking, no one believes him. Jesus is going to crucifixion. He's going to die. From the start, Jesus told people that God had sent him on a mission to lead the world into a future that finally looks like God's dreams. A world where everyone is whole and free, where everyone belongs and has something to give, where everything lives together in abundance and peace. This is why the crowds are following Jesus around. They want to go to that place. They want healing, freedom, plenty to eat. That is where Jesus is headed. But no one, even his closest disciples, wants to listen when he talks about how he's going to get there. So now he makes it even more explicit. He says, "Don't come to me at all unless you're willing to lose everything. If you don't carry your cross and follow me, you can't be my disciple." To be clear, a cross is a first-century version of the electric chair. It's a place where people go to die. According to Jesus, dying isn't a risk someone takes when they choose to follow him. It's not something that happens in rare cases where something goes wrong. Dying is a guarantee. It's where Jesus is headed on purpose. If you're going to follow him, there's nowhere else it could lead. Jesus is headed toward a new, healed world, but the only way he'll get there is through the cross, through an act of total, self-sacrificial, others-centered love. Sacrificial love is the new world's most defining marker. Others-centered love will be written on every strand of DNA. And therefore, sacrificial, other-centered love is the only way that new, better universe will be born. There's no way to follow Jesus but this way. There's nowhere else he's going but here. Anyone who tries to sell you anything else in Jesus' name is hawking a dupe. Fake Christianity. A disciple of Jesus, by definition, is someone willing to lay their life down, a little piece each day, for the love and healing of other people. A person who calls themselves Christian but isn't practicing self-sacrificial, other-centered love, in Jesus' word, is like unsalty salt. In other words, not salt at all. All the promises Jesus ever makes are tied up directly in the price. Freedom comes through what you give away. Healing comes through dying. The only life that is eternal and abundant is the life of other-centered love. This is the essence of who Jesus is, what he's doing, where he's going. Count the cost, Jesus says, and decide if you truly want to come. There is only one kind of offer that Jesus ever makes. Everything for the price of everything. Let's hear Jesus say this in Luke 14, beginning in verse 25. A large crowd was following Jesus. He turned around and said to them, "If you want to be my disciple, you must, by comparison, hate everyone else. Your father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple. And if you do not carry your own cross and follow me, you cannot be my disciple. But don't begin until you count the cost. For who would begin construction of a building without first calculating the cost to see if there's enough money to finish it? Otherwise, you might complete only the foundation before running out of money, and then everyone would laugh at you. They'd say, 'There's a person who started that building and couldn't afford to finish it.' Or what king would go to war against another king without first sitting down with his counselors to discuss whether his army of 10,000 could defeat the 20,000 soldiers marching against him? If he can't, he'll send a delegation to discuss terms of peace while the enemy is still far away. So you cannot become my disciple without giving up everything you own. Salt is good for seasoning, but if it loses its flavor, how do you make it salty again? Flavorless salt is good neither for the soil nor for the manure pile. It will be thrown away. Anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand." I'm Meghan Larissa Good, and this is Reading Jesus. Thanks so much for joining me for a few minutes in Luke, and I'll see you next time.